Welcome to another episode of the No Ceilings Podcast. I'm Tyler Metcalf, joined, as always, by Tyler Rucker. Folks, we got a fun one today, doing a little rookie scale breakout candidate predictions, touching on some international prospects. It's going to be fun. Before we get to it, Rucker, how are we doing?
Fantastic. I wanted to start it off, instead of just saying I'm exciting every episode, I'm going to change it up. We're going to have a big year this year for No Ceilings. I'm going to turn a new leaf, Metcalf. I want to say this, though, because it might be my favorite thing about working with all of you at No Ceilings. For everyone that doesn't know, the off season is just zombie time for a lot of us. The communication's limited. I can feel through text messages of how just exhausted everyone is from the previous year for months. And then all of a sudden that magical feeling happens where everyone's gas tank gets refueled and the chatter starts increasing and everyone starts getting pumped. And it's so much fun when everyone's just like, oh, we're back. Like, I'm all in on this class and everyone's foaming at the mouth for this year's class. I'm pumped. Basketball's right around the corner, Metcalf. I'm just really juiced for this class. I think it's going to deliver on the hype, and this is going to be a fun episode. So how are you doing, sir? Also, completely out of left field, Minnesota Vikings 3-0. Everyone is talking about it. I know Metcalf's feeling good about it, so that's all. I had to throw that in there.
Yeah, well,
I got you speechless. The mad scientist is speechless, folks. I had to throw you a little curveball there. Your lines are looking good, though, too.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about it. I think they'll be just fine. Because apparently we have a defense now, which is super cool, and our electrifying offense is crap. So, football.
It's always fun.
Football. No, I'm fantastic. I caught the bug again with the just excitement in terms of scouting. We got some actual games back. I don't have to scour through a ton of high school film anymore. Thank God. Best time of the year. It's the day after the draft and the day I can stop watching high school film. It's fantastic. I love it. And we've gotten some awesome international performances already. We'll get to that later. But before we do that, we're jumping into some rookie scale kind of breakout candidates. So we're going to be doing a lot more kind of NBA stuff this year over at the site, NoCeilingsNBA.com. Especially with rookie scale contract guys, and kind of power ranking them, honestly. And it's going to be a really fun project that the entire group is going to be partaking in throughout the year. It'll be fun to kind of track the movement and all that kind of stuff. So we just kind of wanted to tease out that and kind of get the juices flowing with who are some of the potential breakout candidates who are still on their rookie scale contracts. I did throw in a couple caveats with Rucker when we were kind of picking who we wanted to talk about here. And first one is that if guys have signed their extension already, even if they're in their last year of their rookie contract, if they've already signed an extension, ineligible. So Cade, Franz, Mobley, get out of here. Also, we want to have a little fun. We want to go a little deeper. So if they won rookie of the year or made first team all rookie, get out of here. Don't want you. We're not talking about you. You already broke out. You already had your moment in the sun. We're looking for guys who are looking to take that next step. We each had a list of 5, and let's just dive right in. Rucker, who is I want to hear the first name on your list.
So I was pumped about this one. I thought the restrictor plates on some of this discussion was fantastic. When you kind of brought it to the table, I was like, that's good, because obviously there's a bunch of big names we could talk about, and I feel like it made it more fun to dive a little deeper. I'm actually trying to make sure with one of my picks that I'm double checking that he wasn't on a team, but I'm still buying. I'm still all in. I think it's going to be a very big year in Rip City for Mr. Scoot Henderson. I'm starting it off spicy, folks. I'm just buying what I saw in the second half of the year. I'm buying the trajectory going upwards. I'm like Metcalf. I can only watch so much high school film. So I just started watching a lot of these young guys in the NBA during the offseason. And I thought Scoot showed some really really strong improvements for a extremely young point guard playing one of the toughest positions to adjust to in the NBA. And I thought the game started to look slower. And I've talked to you about this kind of on the side. I thought we started to see the prospects scoot in the second half of the season. The first half looked like he was still trying to figure out the speed, which is completely understandable. It looked like there was realization sometimes of like, hey, that window used to be open. It's not there anymore. And it's, yeah, welcome to the big show. So Scoot's development throughout the year. I know people will point at stats. The plus minus talk throughout the year was so ridiculous. But I just thought there was a lot of maturity with his game, and I'm still believing him. I think it's going to be an exciting year to watch Scoot. So it's my first one. Just kind of want to set the tone. What are you thinking?
Love it. He wasn't on my list. He was in my honorable mentions. One reason, because I kind of assumed that you would have him. So why waste a spot, And also because I almost had him ineligible for this, because I think this is just the path and the development that young point guards go through. To be 19 playing point guard in the NBA is incredibly hard. Was it 2 seasons ago you wrote a piece on point guards tend to start slow? It's rare that guys really hit the ground running and are able to dictate everything in an NBA offense at that age. People will point to guys like Luka doing it, and it's like, that's the outlier. And also he was doing that in the second best league in the world for 2-3 years ahead of that. And also he's 60 pounds and 4 inches, 5-6 inches bigger. It's different. So I think this is just the learning curve. A lot of hurdles in the way, and he struggled. He was bad last year. I think we can flat out say that he was bad.
Oh yeah.
But we saw growth and we saw improvement. And I was lucky enough to get to see him in person a couple times in Minnesota and Portland. And it was hard to come away with any other feeling than really encouraged when you see the work ethic, when you see the processing development and him kind of working through his mistakes in real time. And then pair it back to what we saw from him, pre his rookie year. I get the disappointment in his rookie year, but I don't necessarily get the panic alarm.
You know what I thought was the most impressive part of kind of the second half of the season for him is the in-between game. I think he's starting to understand how to kind of play with the patience off of picks, getting guys, behind him, keeping them in jail, if you want to put it that way, and also understanding, where to move the ball, where to go with it. It's just a big step. I think that's something too this year. Like, he'll figure out the scoring. Scoot's a relentless worker. He'll figure out the shot. He'll figure that stuff out. I want to see the in-between game continue to develop where it comes to playmaking and stuff. I thought he did a fantastic job with DeAndre Ayton the second half of the year. Like, he got Ayton a lot of easy buckets, a lot of easy good looks, and
he set up a lot of wide open corner threes that they just didn't have any shooters out there who could knock them down. When we saw him in Portland, they were playing the Rockets, and I think between Chris Murray and Rucker, and Kamara, they missed about a dozen at least wide open corner threes.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. He had like his best game of the whole year, and I was like, he could have had 18 assists. Like, it was just that was the prospect, and it was just funny. We saw him that night, and I was like, oh, Scoot looks incredible when we saw him in person, of course. But I think he's going to build off that confidence. Wouldn't be shocked if he's still taking a little bit of time because he's still so young. But I just think this is going to be a nice year for the developmental curve. Maybe not the statistical breakout we're looking for, but I think we're going to start seeing the game slowing down even more for him. And, still so young. You mentioned my piece I wrote about, like, there's a long history. Guys take time. And I'm not talking about 1 or 2 years. Some of the best point guards that play in the NBA have taken 4 or 5 years. Some guys had to get to their second team, but I don't think Scoot's going to be like that. I think this is going to be a nice year to see things keep going up. And then all of a sudden we're going to look up and be like, well, year 3, Scoot might be a problem, or just becoming one of those guys that we thought he's going to be. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I just think the biggest thing with him is in year 2 is something that only comes with experience and reps and time, and that's just figuring out the pace. It led to a ton of his turnovers, led to a ton of the at-rim finishing issues. And once he kind of figures out that space, that athleticism, that jump in it, I think we're going to see all of that bounce back to where we expected, or at least hoped it would be. So love it. Moving on. My first one, going with this teammate, Shaedon Sharpe. I think Sharpe is in for a big year. I think we started to see flashes of it last season. Injuries obviously got in the way of that, a lot of that. But when we kind of look at what his season looked like in Summer League, one of the things that really stood out to me, this is 2 Summer Leagues ago now, was he was really focused on passing more and using that scoring gravity and that rim pressure to set up shooters in the opposite corner. His assist rate, or his assist percentage, jumped from 7.5 as a rookie to 14 last year. So it doubled, with the turnover rate going up. It was only like 1.5%. So extra usage, more passing, huge jump in assists, and a minuscule rise in turnovers. Really like to see that. The big weird kind of issue with him was the scoring efficiency just plummeted. Effective field goal dropped from 55.4 to 48. At rim percentage dropped from 67 to 54. A guy of his athleticism, his size, should not be having those types of scoring and shooting numbers. So hopefully with a healthy season, hopefully with Scoot and Simons taking on so much more of the offensive initiation, he can be used more in that off-ball scoring role where he can be that second side creator, attack closeouts, navigate the second side pick and roll, be more of that off-ball wing rather than an offensive initiator. And I think that will really help just the efficiency skyrocket with him.
Completely agree. He was at the top of my list. You knew I was going to pick Scoot. I knew you were going to pick Shaedon Sharpe. That's why we do the pods together. He's going to have a big year. If he stays healthy, we're going to be really pumping that Shaedon Sharpe stock in the basketball world. And, one of the big things last year was they were banged up in the beginning of the year. Guys were in and out. Simons was hurt. Then all of a sudden Shaedon was out. It's kind of tough. So all of a sudden when he was playing, guys are banged up. He was the focus defensively. Mm-hmm. So there wasn't a lot of room to operate. And, one of the biggest additions for them, Denny Avdia. Denny's going to find him with a lot of good stuff, with cuts, his playmaking. He can space the floor a little bit. I just think it's probably going to be a different world for Shaedon Sharpe this year. He's probably going to get on the court and be like, man, things are looking nice right now. I got pieces around me. And then the bench gets stronger. So I'm right there with you. I think just what we've talked about this before, but what we saw with him at Summer League last year with the playmaking development and some of the flashes you saw even this last season. Remember, he playing against, I think, Detroit, and I was just like, man, Shaedon can be such a problem if he keeps developing like this. So I'm very excited to see what he does. It's probably, I think it's the one guy. I love Scoot. Obviously, I'm going to be biased, but I think Shaedon's probably the guy I'm the most excited to see this year because I just think the sky's the limit with his offensive game and the defense. If he can take that next step,
I need to see just effort on that end would be a good step. It would be a good step in the right direction. Just any semblance of giving a shit on defense would help. It would help.
We love you, Portland.
No, we do.
He's a bucket. He's a bucket getter.
Exactly.
You just have to switch that mentality, but I think that comes with maturity.
How much of it stems from, okay, they just shipped off Damian Lillard, so everyone now knows, it's like, all right, well, fuck, we're tanking. Everyone's hurt too, so we're tanking. And no one's in a good position health-wise, responsibility-wise. It was really rough from start to finish with that team, unfortunately. And last year, Sharpe's most common play type was as a pick and roll ball handler, and he was in the 24th percentile in scoring. That's not what he should be doing. when we look at his off-ball scoring stuff, 57th percentile spotting up, 59th percentile running off screens, and then 77th percentile in isolation. The isolation one in terms of frequency was lower on the list, but when we think about him as that secondary or tertiary offensive creator, creating something out of isolation, late shot clock, those are the types of instances where he should be going ISO, not, hey, bring the ball up and do whatever you want. So hopefully they can stay healthy. Hopefully the roster is a little more fluid and people are in the right spots. So I think they need to see an important step forward from Scoot, but I think they kind of have to have a pretty big leap from Shaedon this year.
Yeah, that's where I was getting at next. We also didn't mention Jeremy Grant still there. So, I mean, they got some nice pieces in place, but I guess what I was going to ask you is like, what if we don't get that step?
That's when we start hitting the panic button. Or just getting really pumped about the 25 draft.
I just need him healthy. We need him healthy for a year.
We need both of them healthy.
Yeah, 100%. But I don't think we're panic mode yet with him. It just might be the ceiling isn't as high as we were hoping. But I do believe that ceiling is that high. I really do. And I've heard good things behind the scenes. So I think it's a big year for Shaedon Sharpe.
Agreed. All right. Before we move on to your next one, just shout out to everyone on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, watching live. Appreciate the support. We're going to jump to our first quick ad break, and then we'll dive into the rest of our breakout candidates. Okay, Rucker, who's next on your list?
I'm going to go Jett Howard.
Okay.
I'm buying it. Shout out Magic fans. I love you. Yes, I'm drunk off Summer League. I'm drunk off of how I felt about him as a prospect. I'm drunk off of a lot of our guys at No Ceilings, how we felt about him as prospects, how Metcalf felt. Shout out Albert. What I saw from Jett at Summer League, and you all should know, yes, listeners, watchers, how I feel about Summer League. I'm a very big, let's not overreact. But the second year of Summer League, I think, is very important to show the mentality of a player. Have they been working? Have they been in the lab? And Jett had a tough first year in the league. Spent a lot of time in the G League after being a lottery pick. He could have been down. He could have moped. And I thought you saw at Summer League a guy that's possessed and has been working his ass off the whole offseason. And I think that's going to translate to a team that is on the rise in the East. I think Orlando is going to be a very tough team for years to come. And they still need shooting. And Jett Howard is going to come in and be perfect. So I think this is going to be a big leap. He's going to shock some people this year. And that's another guy I'm really excited to see what he can do in his second year. Now, I'm saying a breakout from a guy that spent most of the first year in the G League, Metcalf. So I don't want people to be like, oh, you think Jett's going to average 15 a game? No, but I do
25.
think he's going to, 25. 25 on 45% from three. I think he's going to be an important piece. Like they get to playoff series, Jett can win a game with his shooting or his impact. So I just think it's going to be a big year for him.
Kind of hard to push back on that because the big thing is what you said. Can he go from being a guy who was just in the G League all year to someone who's getting 15 minutes a night every night consistently in the rotation and just forcing the coaching staff to play him? I think theoretically he fits like a glove with that team. When you have the size and the playmaking and rim pressure and the defense and rebounding with guys like Wendell Carter, Franz, Paolo, Jonathan Isaac, Jalen Suggs, you can throw a guy like Jett out there who, is he a good defender? No. Is he a good rebounder? No. But is he an awesome shooter? Yeah. Is he a really good passer? Yeah. Can you run him off of a lot of different stuff and let him kind of make a bunch of decisions running off screens and just spotting up even and attacking closeouts and allow him to kind of either just launch, and if he's cold that night, you pull him? Sure, why not? But more often than not, can he knock down 2, 3, 4 threes in a night in the blink of an eye and rack up 2, 3, 4 assists? I don't think that's that outlandish. If he's around 8 to 10 points with 2 assists a night, that would be awesome on 15 minutes. That'd be huge. That'd be a huge jump for him. And I think you can insulate all those rebounding and defensive concerns based on how the rest of that roster is constructed. Now he's going to have to beat out, or he's not going to beat out KCP. But, a guy like Caleb Houston's going to be pushing him for minutes. I think Jett Howard is still going to, or at least should, get the, first opportunity at those potential minutes. But I think theoretically, in terms of what that team needs, he provides it on a silver platter.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going off the top of my head. They're going to have a very solid starting lineup, and then your bench could be extended Anthony Black minutes, which I might talk about in a second, and Jett and Da Silva. It's 2 shooters around a playmaking guard with size. Like, that should be a very fun rotation off the bench, and not to mention if you're ever getting Franz and Paulo lineups with those, my goodness, at the floor spacing and the size. So I just think Jett's showing this offseason, and it wasn't just how he played. It was also like the mentality with his playmaking. He was looking to make that extra pass. He was making some beautiful reads. He had 2 games where he took the tip and just full on 100 miles an hour to the hoop, like aggressive. It's like, where has this gone? But this is also what we talked about, like going back to his days as a prospect in Michigan. Like, Jett was very fluid and movement shooting, and then had both ankles injured. And people were like, why is Jett struggling? It's like, well, a movement shooter needs healthy feet to be effective. So I just think this is a year in which I love the sophomores that kind of all of a sudden remind us of like, oh, that's why you went in the lottery. That's why you were such a intriguing prospect. And I think it's going to be a big year for him. I'm not saying he's going to explode points per game wise, but I think he's going to make a big impact with his floor spacing for guys like Franz, guys like Paulo, just to open things up for everybody else too.
Totally agree. And I think, someone else who's going to benefit from improved floor spacing, Jalen Duren, next on my list.
You really turn a leaf on some of these guys. I mean, first we got you on Khalil Ware. Now we got you on JD.
I had Duren as like 12 on my board.
Yeah, I get you. We were both at the same.
He's been bad.
He's been solid on a bad team.
He's been solid on offense on a bad team.
Yeah.
So offensively,
the guy that gets targeted every night because he's like, could someone else help, please? Go ahead.
So whenever the Pistons' lack of floor spacing gets brought up, it always goes to how much it hurts Cade, and rightfully so, because Cade is the potential superstar on that team going forward, and who they should be building everything around. But I think with improved floor spacing, Jalen Duren is also going to benefit tremendously. One of the big sells of this offensive skill set coming out of Memphis was the passing upside, and we've seen strides of that kind of finding their way into his NBA game as well, where his assist percentage jumped from 6.9 as a rookie to 12.3 last year. Now you're surrounding him with extra shooters and Tobias Harris, Tim Hardaway, Simone Fontecchio, Malik Beasley. It kind of be tough to imagine that doesn't improve even more, where he's able to now create out of the short roll even more with him and Cade pick and roll as the as the roll man last year, or the last 2 years. He ranked in the 72nd percentile and the 80th percentile with 0 floor spacing on either of those teams. Needs to clean up the turnovers a little. Last 2 years, turnover rate's been just under 18%. But again, when you're rolling into 5 defenders, it's a little tricky. So I think offensively, there's a ton of upside for him to get even easier buckets out of the roll, where help defenders have to stay home a little bit more on shooters, hopefully. And if they don't, I think he has the passing ability to make those quick skip passes to corner shooters. And now that he has multiple guys who have a track record of being able to knock down open spot up jumpers, I think it could really, really help diversify and, expand his offense and that 2-man pick and roll game that him and Cade have slowly been developing.
I think you put that beautifully. That a lot of people don't see is we always do focus on Cade and being like, man, if he just had some shooting, some floor spacing, life would get a lot easier. It would get a lot easier for Jalen Duren, because now you can really clog the lane because you're not worried about him kicking it out to shooters, and you can kind of collapse on him. And I think that's the hope, is that Detroit starts getting that team around those guys, because I do think both of those guys have a huge ceiling still with Cade and Duren. You just gotta put the pieces around to unlock that. And I still have to remind myself Tobias Harris is there this year, so I mean that might be a great fit alongside Duren. It's just going to be very interesting because I still think there's such a high ceiling, and this could be a big step this year for Duren. Like, just that this is that time where you really take that step. You really, because you're also getting to the point of you're coming up for your contract extension, and guys understand with that second contract. So I like that pick. That's a good one. And I just really like how you put that, where it's like, hey, big men also need you to get some floor spacing around so you can make their life a little easier when they're trying to go one-on-one in beast mode down low instead of getting 3 guys collapsing on them.
What I'm a little more skeptical about is the defensive end. Now, hopefully, JB Bickerstaff is bringing over a ton of lessons and knowledge and everything that he learned in Cleveland with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. Obviously, those two are incredible defenders in their own right, and one of the main reasons why Cleveland had one of the best at-rim defenses in the league during Bickerstaff's reign there. But when Duren's been on the court with the Pistons the last 2 years, opponents have shot 68.2% and 67% at the rim, which rank 31st and the 45th percentiles, respectively. Not great. So it'll be really interesting. I'm really, really, really fascinated to see what types of defensive schemes they throw out there, because Duren has not taken that leap and that jump defensively that he needs to. So I'm curious to see if they try to utilize their youth and athleticism with a lot of their perimeter defenders and try and create havoc out on the perimeter a little more, play at the level, just kind of try to create a bit of chaos and steer a little more away from traditional drop coverage stuff, because Duren's really kind of struggled executing that at a high level.
Yeah, I think JB was a very underrated hire for them. I know it was kind of like, okay, who's Detroit going to hire? I think JB is going to be nice for them. He should get them rolling. It's always tough with those stats with bigs that struggle on just bad teams, because I'm like, is this a product of you just being alongside bad, help, or is this self-reflected? So I get it. I'm right there with you. I think this is going to be a big year, though, for Duren, and I'm hoping the Pistons take a step forward. I do believe JB was going to be a good, the right person. We're going to throw last year out the window. It's just rough for Pistons fans. So I think this is the year we're hopefully heading in the right direction.
God, I hope so.
I very much hope.
Who's next for you?
I don't want to cheat. You know what? I'm just going to stick with Orlando. I'm going Anthony Black.
Okay.
I feel great about Anthony Black this year, and I'll tell you why. That's why we're here.
It'd be weird if he didn't.
Exactly. It'd be very weird. I think it's very hard when you're a young guard. We just talked about Scoot earlier in the show. I think it's hard when you're a young guard to figure out, like, hey, how can I make myself, I've got to get minutes. Like, how can I consistently earn minutes to where the coaching staff's like, we got to have him on the court. He's impactful even without scoring. I think that takes a lot of maturity at a young age to kind of be like, I don't have to score. I can help this team this way. I think Anthony Black showed last year some off-ball movement that I was just not expecting. Just like some good floor awareness away from the ball. We knew what he was as a playmaker coming out of Arkansas. But then I also thought the defense showed some really good stuff. And I think we're going to start seeing Anthony Black put the pieces together a little bit quicker than everyone's expecting, because I think those are two big areas as a young guard that if you show growth there, like I think the in-between game, off-ball awareness, defense, those are big areas. Mm-hmm. And if you're a young guard that can start to show some knowledge about, the game slowing down or how you can make an impact there, I think everything else can fall into place a lot quicker. Everyone's fascinated with his outside shot. I'm not worried about that right now. I think the complete game with Anthony Black is going to start piecing itself together, and then that's when things are going to all of a sudden get on the same path, and it's going to be very fun for Magic fans. So I think this year he's going to take another step and potentially be that guy where we're like, Anthony Black and Jalen Suggs sounds like a very fun duo for the future for Magic fans in that backcourt.
Yeah, and the big is what you said, where as a rookie, getting a rookie who is a former, top recruit, big name prospect, was the dude who got to do whatever, or who got to run the show in college and in high school. And for him to immediately come into a young team and take a back seat and do all the dirty work, do all the little things, do all the unsexy things that don't show up in the box score, that you don't get lauded for and praised for on, social media constantly. That's a real testament to who he is as a player and a person. And that makes coaching so much easier. And his usage rate was in like the 6th percentile last year. So he didn't do anything on offense because he wasn't asked to. He didn't have to. I think at Summer League, we saw him kind of put back a little more back into that role of, hey, let's run the offense through you. Let's put you back in some more of those point guard responsibilities. And, is kind of mixed results. And I wouldn't expect him to emerge into that role right away this year. But I think we're going to see a little more flashes of that as they kind of try and build that back into his game, like we saw in high school and in college. But the defense with him was incredible. And when he was on the court, their defensive, I know it's defensive rating is what it is. It's a team stat, yada, yada, yada. But when he was on the court, they ranked in the 89th percentile. Pretty good. And that also pops on film, the way he chases guys off screen, creates havoc, blocks shots. So it's a real testament to that coaching staff for getting him to buy in, and for him to buy in. So I think he's going to. I like that pick. I think he was really solid last year as a rookie, and this year for him is all about, all right, how can I continue doing all of that while also adding a little bit more production into my game?
Yeah, I think it's, you said right there, it's the coaching staff, like hat tip to him for getting him to buy in. I think it's a byproduct also of your roster and your construction and building it over the years and being patient. Like Anthony Black's going against Jalen Suggs in practice every day. He's probably been like, this guy plays like me. Like the shot's not always there, but look how he's making an impact. And that becomes infectious. And all of a sudden you start buying into like, hey, this is how I can get on the court, play great defense and be an off-ball guy. And you put it perfectly. It takes a lot to be the guy in high school. In college, he was the guy because they were injured. They had to have him do everything. And then all of a sudden come in and be like, you're not the guy. You have to earn minutes. We don't care if we took you in the 6th pick. You have to earn minutes. And he figured out a way to do it. And now I think you're going to start, we say that full first off season is always fantastic for these young guys. I think he's going to start piecing it together rather quickly. It's going to be a fun year.
Real quick before we move on, Gregory in the chat asking, Rucker, since you're a Celtics fan, do you think it's good for the Magic to kind of build similar or kind of go down the route of how the Celtics have built their team, or should they give Paolo a Jalen Brunson-esque type of primary on-ball scorer, kind of like how they paired him with Julius Randle? Obviously different players and all that, but archetypes and stylistically.
No, I think the thing with the Celtics, and I'm not going to go on this rant for too long, but what they did such a great job of is being patient and letting your guys develop, letting them get confidence. And I think a lot of teams, a lot of organizations will freak out if after 2-3 years, it's just not happening. Boston was patient, trusting their guys. They figured out what they had, and then they built around those guys. I think Orlando is starting to do that. They've found Paulo. They've found another one in France. Now build around them, get them guys. So now you've got defensive assets in the backcourt. You've got a playmaking upside wing in Anthony Black. And then this year you get a really smart pick in Tristan da Silva. Even Jett's pick last year, I was like, I don't think he's going to hit it as a rookie, but you're taking that as a future, ROI, like get your investment back. Like they're doing such great stuff in Orlando. I think they're taking a page out of Boston. So like, I would just keep building a deep roster and lean on the beasts of Paulo and Franz. And we talked about this last episode, Metcalf, like they had to get a guy and they got a guy in Paulo, but now you have another guy in Franz who just had a fantastic offseason. So I would just keep doing what you're doing. I think smart teams find the guys and then they say, how do we build around them to make them better? I think Boston did that. I think Orlando's doing that.
I tend to agree. All right, moving on. My next guy, Kobe Bufkin, go blue.
Yes.
So obviously these, I'm going to read off some numbers here. These were with the Skyhawks, G League, all of that stuff gets inflated a little bit, but numbers are numbers and numbers are fun. So last year with the Skyhawks, 80th percentile pick and roll ball handlers in scoring, 72nd percentile in isolation, 71st percentile on all jumpers, 62nd percentile shooting off the catch, 83rd percentile shooting off the bounce, shot only 54 or 55.4% at the rim, but that's kind of expected given where he was in terms of a weight standpoint coming out of college, where his last year at Michigan, he was listed at 175. He is now listed at 195. That's a fun little 20-pound weight gain. I think Kobe Bufkin, it could have a very big year. And I think the opportunity is there for him to seize it if he wants it.
Was on my list. Love that pick. Fantastic pick. Think it's a big year for him. I will say this, the G League stats, yes, impressive. I watched some of his G League games because I just wanted to see like where he's at. There are some games where I was like, holy crap, Bufkin looks fantastic. What is he doing down here? So I'm very excited to see what he could do this year. I was so crushed when he had that injury right before Summer League started. I was like, you got to be kidding me. This is the one guy I wanted to see at Summer League. And he gets hurt because I thought he would have been a very quick shutdown guy. I know they have Trey. I know they have Dyson Daniels. I think Kobe's going to be a fantastic piece. And I think that backcourt's going to look a lot better this year, just with how everyone's going to play off of each other. Very excited to watch him. I think people are going to quickly remember how good Bufkin is, because he's not going to be the guy that's just going to be blowing up the box scores right away. I think he's going to just be a very nice piece that Hawks fans are going to be like, he's going to be here for a while. Like we got a good one in Kobe Bufkin. So good one, Metcalf. I like that pick.
Well, and I think with Trey, Dyson, Bogdanovich, Kobe, I think that you can kind of mix and match all those guys together. Especially now that Kobe is up to 195, allegedly, hold his own a little bit more on defense, but Dyson can guard basically anyone on the court. And I think all those guys can kind of play together. And then you still have Jalen Johnson, hopefully taking yet another leap after, that insane improvement that he showed last year. Hopefully Okongwu takes that similar step. And then you have the number 1 overall pick in Zachary Reese-Shea as well. So I'm hoping, I still believe that Quinn Snyder kind of knows what he's doing on the basketball court. I think he's a hot take. I think he's a good coach. So hopefully with, another full year and a little bit more direction and a less, messy pairing between DeJounte Murray and Trae Young in the backcourt, hopefully things get a little more fluid. And I think there's a real chance for Kobe to emerge as just that flat out backup point guard.
I love it.
Cool.
I love it. That's
Who's next on your list?
What am I at? 4?
Yeah.
Bilal Coulibaly. Shout out Wizards fans. We're back. It's pretty funny because we were doing your rules, which I loved, of like, hey, trying not to do the all rookie teams. And it's just funny seeing like where he was on the votes. I know the stats probably weren't there to back up, but like he had less votes than Scoot. Did you know that for all rookie team?
Interesting.
Just very interesting to me.
Oh.
Now, I guess some people might be going off of stats, but I think Coulibaly is going to blow up this year. I think he's going to just be. We're going to look and be like, it's happening. It's happening, folks. He's going to be a very fun problem in this league. You know how I feel about guys playing during the summer, the Olympics and everything. I know he didn't get a ton of run. I wish France played him a little bit more, but I still think that's important for developing and everything. So I think Coulibaly is going to take that another step this year. And then, by year 3, we're going to be looking up and being like, he's going to be a very fun talent in this league. So I like Bilal.
The defense with him still last year was very, very good, especially the shot blocking stuff. I think he was in like the 90th percentile in terms of block rate, which is absurd. And that was kind of the big thing with him coming into the draft or out of the draft was physical tools off the chart, a ton of recent growth and development in his game, kind of day one ready defense with tremendous amounts of upside on offense. And that's what we saw. That's exactly what we got. Unfortunately, some injury issues. The offense still has a long way to go, I think. But if he can just get to 35 to 38% on like spot up threes, awesome. Get out in transition, push the pace, get some easy buckets, just pick your spots a little better. Try and find a little bit more efficiency in your shooting to pair with the awesome defense. It's the big upside swing, but I think still a relatively high floor that rebuilding teams should be looking at. And when we talk about or think about his kind of fit with that Wizards team long term, the defensive pairing of him and Alex Sarr together, very fun. I think Bob Carrington's going to be able to set him up for a lot of easy looks. And then you still have, a handful of veterans on that team like Kyle Kuzma who can create on or off ball as well. So I think hopefully he can stay healthy, but it seems to be it seems like people are very excited in the DC area about him.
They should be.
Yeah.
I mean, Metcalf, think about how many 19-year-olds come into the league, and he turned 19 right before the season. Like he just turned 20 this summer. How many 19-year-olds you come into the league and as a small forward and you're like, they're a scary defender already. We just don't see that. And his tools, like the body keeps filling out. He averaged 27 minutes. I'm going to say that's a little weighted because of the end of the year. Everyone always gets a little juice. What would you guess off the top of your head, if you've looked and cheated, I'm going to be pissed, his 3-point percentage was?
Oh, I did not look.
Okay. Give me a guess. You always put me on the spot and I look like a fool. So
33.
Okay. Well, I hate you. 34.6. So, yes, that's on 2.9 attempts. I understand, but that's still much better than I thought it was going to be. I mean, as a rookie in 27 minutes, 43, 34.6, 70. I think those are going to go up. He almost averaged a steal and a block a game.
Yeah.
As in those minutes. I just feel like this is the year in which things will even be slower for him defensively. So he's going to be more of a problem on that side. And then if the offense does start taking a little bit of a next step, those are the guys you be patient, and they keep adding a little bit more each summer and a little bit more, and they take that next step. And then all of a sudden it is a leap forward. So I think he's going to be a very fun one for Wizards fans this year. And I would just play him nonstop.
Yeah.
If I was that team, I'd just let him play as much as possible. And yes, stay healthy, but very excited to watch him. Shout out Wizards fans. Love you.
Well, someone else who desperately needs to stay healthy this year, next on my list, Mark Williams. When he's played, he's been incredibly good. It's just when he's played part. So as a rookie, played only 38 games. Last year, only 19. Sucks. But when he has played, the Hornets defensive rating was 2.9 lower with him on the court last year than when he was off. As a rookie, it was 5.1 lower. Offensive rating was 10.1 higher with him on the court last year than when he was off. Often the team's offensive rebounding rate was 9.2% higher when he was on the court than when he was off. His block and steal rates were in the 65th and 64th percentiles, respectively, last year. As a rookie, 81st and 85th percentiles. Offensive rebounding rate was 14.9% last year, 96th percentile. He was above the 60th percentiles in terms of scoring on putbacks, cuts, and as a roller, and 96th percentile in transition. When he's on the court, he is so impactful and so goddamn good. He just hasn't been able to stay healthy yet. But if he does, he's going to make life so incredibly easy for LaMelo and Brandon Miller and everyone else on that team.
I'd like to remind everyone, I think if Mark was healthy this whole year, we're going to start talking about him as like one of the top young centers in the league. I really believe that in him. We're also forgetting last year he had a 21 and 24 with 3 assists game against the Wizards. I just want to put that out there.
That part out.
Yeah, I could have left that out there. Sorry, Wizards said still love you. But I mean, like he had a 12-game stretch where he averaged 12, almost 12, 13, and 13 boards in a block. Like,
yeah,
Mark knows his game, and Mark's damn good at it. He's good on defense. He's good on the boards. He can be an effective beast around the basket. Every time I hear how many games he played last year, I feel like the number gets smaller. So it just pisses me off. I'm a very, very big believer. I think if he's healthy, I really do believe that. I think if he's healthy, we're going to look and be like, we're not going to say, hey, he's one of the best. We're going to be like, Mark might be one of the more underrated young bigs in this league. And then I think he's just going to be that piece that's just the building block for them. Like, I think young teams, you need to find who's your star, who's your reliable guy, like who's he does the dirty work. I think Mark's the dirty work, reliable big man that can make everyone better. And man, I want him to stay healthy. There's a lot of young guys. I'm like, just stay healthy this year. Like, stay it in, Mark. So I love that pick. Me and you were gushing about him as a prospect. I still feel the same way because I see it on the court. It's just, give me more minutes, big fella.
Totally agree. Okay. Who's last name for you?
Oh, I had Mark.
Oh, was that it?
No, I mean, just workshop a couple. I have Dyson Daniels too. We just talked about Dyson Daniels in the last episode. I'm still in
a couple times.
Yeah, a couple times. I'm still in. I'm still buying. Still believing. I'm just really excited to see what he does this year. I think there's a lot of times when you get that second team guy that just all of a sudden has an injection of confidence, and it's just like, I'm free. And I'm not slandering Pelicans fans. I just think they had a roster where it was just, where do you get minutes?
Yeah.
And now I think there's going to be a clear path.
Yep.
And he's perfect for playing next to Trae. He's perfect for the identity of what that team's trending towards. He should be a really nice piece. And gosh, we can't stop talking about how good he looked this offseason.
Oh, he looked
during
incredible.
the Olympics. He was the prospect we were all hoping that this is why we love Dyson Daniels.
Like, you're an absolute nightmare.
Man, like, it was awesome. I was like, this is the guy. Where has he been? Like, who hit him? So
knocking down wide open or spot up threes when he needed to, attack closeouts, got out in transition, defended like a madman. Now you throw that next to Trae Young. Awesome. Now you throw that next to Trae Young and Bogdanović. Fantastic. You can play him at the 1, the 2, the 3. You can just do a lot of different stuff because of how versatile he is on defense. And as long as he's knocking down 35 to 38% on 2 to 3 3-point attempts a night, that's fine.
I mean, I that's why I think the Olympics are so big, is because you start playing with, I think it's just a reminder for some of these young guys, especially when you're playing for your country and stuff, of like, I can do this. Like, I'm this good. You get your confidence, you get your swagger back. And I'm not saying Dyson was like, hey, I'm playing in the NBA level. I must be pretty good. But I think it's just a different feeling where you start being like, okay, like new season, like feeling good. I'm playing good in the Olympics, like starting to have my games coming together. And I think he's gonna carry that over. And we've seen a lot of young guys. I always point out Team USA, a lot of guys that they go train with that team all offseason, then they have a big year, or they get on the Olympic team, then they have a big year. I think just for Daniels with the new start and a perfect fit for like Atlanta needs him. I think they tried the Murray Young experience and they probably realized like we need a bigger guy off of Trey that's probably not needing to be the guy too. And I think Dyson Daniels is going to be perfect for that.
Agree. All right.
Hit me with your last one. I'm excited for this.
Last name for me, Julian Strawther. He's barely played, and he's exactly what the Nuggets need. They need shooting, and I think people have kind of forgotten how lethal of a shooter he was in college. And his last year at Gonzaga, 97th percentile spotting up, 77th percentile off screens, 93rd percentile off the catch. Guess what he's going to be doing with the Nuggets? Shooting off the catch, a fuck ton. And we saw in Summer League and he's launching from almost the logo. Confidence is not an issue with him in terms of shooting. The defense might be, but they need some sort of, extra outlet on offense. Jokic has a billion games of showing us that no one sets up their teammates better than him and finds them easier shots. Strawther's a really good offensive rebounder, good cutter, good off-ball mover, awesome off-ball shooter. If it's going to work for him, if he's going to stick in the league, which I think he will, it's hard to imagine a much better scenario than what he's walking into this year.
He's going to have a big year. I think we've been waiting for a lot of those young guys with Denver to cement themselves, to take that next step. I think Strawther is going to have a very big year for them. I think that's going to be the guy that takes that step, that leap. They need him. They've been trying to get that guy. Like they keep kind of doubling down at the blackjack table of like getting it, where it's like Hunter Tyson and then Strawther, Christian Braun. I still think Brown's going to be having a nice year, but Strawther is really what they need with the size, the quick shooting, the rebounding, the mentality. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to be a very nice piece for them. I loved him as a prospect because I know what he's like on the court. I know his mentality. I know what his mentality is probably going to be like after a full off season. So I think he's going to shock some people and be a nice piece.
And he had a very good summer league.
Yes. And that's very crucial for a guy like this, is just, okay, you're a shooter, seeing it go down, seeing the rest of the game develop. It's a good point. Like Jokic needs a couple guys like this, and Strawther's perfect for him. Like Strawther should be like, big fella, where do you want me? Just tell me where to go. I'll catch and shoot it. So I think that's probably one of my favorite guys we've talked about tonight, just in terms of gonna shock some people. He's gonna be perfect. Kind of, we talked about Jett earlier. I think Strawther is gonna be that kind of version for Denver, where it's just very important to that team's success. I had an honorable mention on that team, Peyton Watson, but
no, he was an honorable mention for me as well.
Anyone else that didn't make the cut for you? But there's a lot of fun names.
Yeah, there are a handful that I didn't think necessarily qualified. Like Jalen Suggs last year kind of felt like his big breakout to me. It wouldn't surprise me if he's due for another jump. Christian Braun, we just talked about him. Nickeil Alexander-Walker in a contract year. But again, last year kind of felt like that big leap for him. But I think he could be in store for yet another with the kind of point guard rotation going on in Minnesota with Rob Dillingham, Mike Conley as the only kind of true point guards on the team. It wouldn't shock me if Nickeil gets some of those minutes. Scoot, Keontae George, Tari Eason, I think is in for a big year, and he's been really good when he's played. Vince Williams last year kind of felt like it. Trey Murphy last year kind of felt like it. New Orleans, what are you doing? sign the man. Those were the big ones for me. What about you?
Yeah, I had some of those. I had some wild cards. I thought Jarris Walker could be up there.
I thought about that. He was really
And I was
close
like,
for me, but
yeah. It's still like, maybe year 3 is the big one.
His route to minutes is tough.
They've been talking all off season about making him a 3, and I'm just like,
it's like
okay.
I like that at Summer League. That's fun. I don't like that for Jarris's NBA future.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. It's just, it could work. I kind of cheated and put Christian Koloko. Shout out Koloko. I'm so pumped you're back in the NBA. I'm so pumped for him. Not with the Lakers, but I'm so pumped for him. TJD, I thought was a little wild card. Jalen Wilson, super wild card. Jordan Miller, I loved his summer league.
Someone on that Clippers team is going to have to.
Him or Kobe Brown. I had both of them down.
I have no idea what to do with that team. I think they might be a mess, but
Vince Williams.
Wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of names that should be taking that next step. This is, as much as I love scouting prospects, I like seeing the second-year guys that or the third-year guys that like who takes that next step, who cements themselves, and who all of a sudden shows us like, okay, maybe the evaluation of what we thought as a prospect is gonna start falling into place. Just takes time. So yeah, a lot of fun names. I thought Ben Shepherd was another name too who could take a step, but that's all I got.
Cool. All right, let's take our final break and then we'll dive into some of these international prospects. And we're back. Rucker, this is going to be pretty open-ended, but the 2025 NBA draft cycle is officially underway. Now that some of these international leagues have gotten games going over this past week, it totally slipped my mind that games are already here, and then the group chat starts lighting up about, have you guys seen Saraf? Did you watch Essengue? Did you the NBL guys? And I was like, oh my god, I have games back. This is fantastic. So where do you want to start?
I want you to set the tone. It's what I talked about in the beginning of the show. It is so magical when everyone gets that itch, and it's fully back. I can tell it just puts a big smile on my face when everyone's like, oh, the gas tank's completely full. We're ready to rock. And the convos just start flowing for No Ceilings. It's just, and we added more people this year. It is just ruthless. So it's very fun though to talk all day hoops. But where are you at right now?
All right. Let's talk about both guys from Ulm. Ben Saraf and Noa Essengue. Holy shit.
If everyone, let's just start with this. Buy into the hype. If you're starting to get excited about the draft, yes. The answer is yes. This class is going to be everything that we've been hearing, buzzing about. It is got the potential to just lay the fucking hammer. It's such a fun year, and we're always going to get these names out of nowhere that just start to buzz and start to make noise. Ben is the guy right now that we thought might be a late first rounder a couple of months ago. And now we're like, oh my gosh. And Bub Carrington last year, every year we see these guys come out of nowhere and start to make a noise. And then you start looking at the rest of the class and you're like, I still love these guys. So it's going to be a year to have some picks and follow this closely. It is going to be awesome. So yeah, Ben looks good. My boy, Ben looks fantastic. What do you like?
Yeah. Also, it may come across like we're overreacting a little bit to one or two games. Yeah, probably. Also, I don't really care because this is
he's been doing this all off season. He's been doing this all summer.
Exactly. It's all replicable with him too. He looks so in control. He looks huge out there. His pace control, his pace manipulation, the way he operates a pick and roll, it's all just really, really comfortable. There's some high level playmaking flashes. The shot looks really good. It's tough to be anything other than over the moon about his first 2 games.
He just had his first game Euro Cup, correct? For everyone that is not familiar.
First game was Monaco, and then second game was a Euro, I think a Polish team.
Yes, his most recent game, he had 17 points, 3 rebounds, 10 assists, 3 steals, 7 for 17, 0 for 3 from deep, 3 for 3 from the line, 35 minutes. He made some plays in that game, just really impressive. Lefty, smooth shot. I'm just trying to get everyone familiar. I'm trying to be better about this.
Listed at 6'5", I think.
6'5", looks bigger.
Yeah,
and from Israel. So there's another big one. I know a lot of Israel fans very excited about him. He's worth the hype right now. He's buzzing. He'll get you in dangerous feelings. If you're evaluating and you're watching, you'll be saying, well, okay, like, hold on a second. Where are we putting this guy? And I think he's skyrocketing. Some people are going to have him very high. I don't blame you. It's a high feel shooter.
Yeah. Can play on or off ball.
Yes.
Like, he's not ball dependent. He moves well off ball. The shot off the catch looks really comfortable.
I was impressed the last game I watched of him. I was impressed the whole time. Then I talked about this before we hit record. He had like a drive and kick to the corner, but he got in the air, stared at the right wing, froze the defender for like a split second, and then threw a dime to the corner. And it was just enough of a window to freeze that defender for his teammate to get the shot off. If he didn't get that guy, it would have been blocked. I was like, that's a little detail that I rewound like 10 times. I was like, there's some stuff here. There is some stuff here. He threw a couple of passes to Noah, who I'm just in love with. And I was like, this duo is going to be fantastic to watch this year. So yeah, I get everyone that's, drunk on Ben right now. I completely get it.
Yeah.
Very left-hand dominant. Very left-hand dominant. That's all I'm going to
He did have
very left-hand dominant.
He did have one where Lowell finished through contact with the right, add the foul in the second game. So, he's capable of it, but God, he never looks to go to finish with his right. He'll drive to his right.
Yeah.
But
to come back to the left. Yeah, I hate when guys do that. Like, I'm clearly coming back. And I get, it's like, yes, it's your dominant hand, but sometimes I just want him to look at your right hand. Just like at least acknowledge that it exists. But I get it. It's also very early. So a lot of these guys, I'm like very excited, very awesome. Pump the brakes. Let's just be patient. But Ben, yes, all gas.
Let's talk about Noa Essengue as well. Super lanky, really toolsy, really encouraging kind of play finishing versatility. The cutting with him has been fantastic. The shot looks good. Narrow base, bit of a knee knock, needs to clean that up, but the upper body stuff, the release, the confidence, it's all there. It all looks really good. Some really kind of fun passing flashes too, in like transition, attacking closeouts, dumping off, some occasional kickouts out of the roll too, and then just a ton of defensive versatility. He's a guy where it's like, this is exactly what every modern NBA forward kind of looks like.
Yeah, I'm if you want stock, you're gonna have to buy it from me. I love him. I've been
we were talking about him last year when when watching the Dadier Nunez games, and he popped in the 48 seconds a game he got.
Well, that's just one. Like one of my good friends, shout out Jimmy Rhodes, used to be Ohm's player development coach, and last year, before the season started, I was asking about Bacombe. I was like, talk to me about Bacombe. And every time we would just gush about Bacombe, I was like, man, I love him. I saw him, Basketball Without Borders. I love I think that's going to shock some people. He's going to have a big year. And then every time I talked to him, he would steer, you need to watch Noah.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, why do you love this guy? And then he just you need to watch him. I work with him every day. I love what he brings to the table. Dude's a worker. And I went and watched him, and I was like, Talk to me about Noah. That's just my goodness. And then I told you about him, and I feel like you texted me. You're like, my goodness, this kid, he's just the holy crap potential. Like it's just 6'9", 6'10". He's very thin, like 200, but he gets somewhere with his steps. He has that mentality of, yes, I'm thin, but I'm dunking on you. Ben had a dime to him and he threw down with anger on someone. It's just the raw ball of clay that you would want to be gambling on. I love his tools. I thought the outside shot shocked the crap out of me in the last game. It was very smooth. So very fun one. There's always that name in a class that you're like, you might want to get him early because the potential is scary. And I feel Noah's going to be that international guy. That's just, if we keep taking steps in the right direction this year, I would be sprinting to the podium just to, and I'm, of course, we're talking preseason early. I'm just saying, if everything checks out from what I've heard, I would be pumped.
Yeah, it's.
Do you feel that way, or am I just a little?
No, I love his upside. We can always
fills out.
Right. So and that's really my only kind of concern with him is really high hips, really skinny lower body. But like he still gets down in a defensive stance. He moves well. Obviously, some occasions of getting blown past by, quicker guards where he's a little slow to react. But he just has to get stronger in his lower body. And the high hips, kind of worry me a little bit. But he moves his feet well. He's light on his feet, so it's kind of that conundrum of how much stronger do you get without taking away from the agility and the fluidity and stuff. I think offensively, the connecting tools, the off-ball play finishing versatility, it's exactly what you want from a low maintenance power forward. I think he's going to shoot it. I like the passing. I like the feel. I love the cutting. He'll finish with touch or with power at the rim. He's just young, and the lower body stuff is concerning, but it's also very fixable and very manageable. So it's like a yellow flag, but not like a what the fuck.
And I need to remind everyone, he's 17.
Yeah,
he turns 18 in 2 months, in 2 months. Or excuse me, no, December he turns 18. So I mean, there's a world in which he's not done growing.
Yeah.
Which is scary, but I'm right there with you. The body just needs to fill out, but that's why I'm saying the teenager. He's 17 years old, so just give the time to fill out. But he does some stuff on the court that you just don't find all the time, and I think it also pairs with the mentality, the skill set. It's just a great foundation. It's what you would want, and another talented guy from France. What a shocker. They're just breeding these guys. So, yeah, I love Noah. I'm a big fan. I'm excited to see what he does throughout the year because that outside shot keeps showing potential, and the rest of the game, it's going to be a scary one. He's going to be a very fun one.
Totally agree. Did you watch any Nolan Traore?
I watched enough this summer to know that a couple of bad games is not going to scare me at all.
That was my takeaway too.
I love everyone freaking out, but I'm like,
he looked like a teenage point guard playing his first pro game.
Give me
shot didn't fall. Passing was a little inconsistent. The shooting, most of his misses being left or right was not ideal. You prefer those distance based, but from what we saw over the summer and at Hoop Summit, I'm not really worried about the shot long term. He's just kind of skinny, and again, looked like a teenager. The handle looked really good. Got downhill a bunch. Team defense was really promising, and just some really good flashes of just processing. So I think 2 weeks, 2 months, 6 months from now, I think it's going to be a very aggressive leap from him. So tough game, 1 of 9 shooting, I think, like 3 assists, 4 turnovers. Rough start, especially given all the hype that kind of came with him after Hoop Summit. But I'm not worried at all.
Yeah, he was funny in Hoop Summit because throughout the practices, I never felt like I was just like, Nolan's unbelievable. I just felt like, oh, he's solid. He's nice. Then you saw the game and you're like, another level. So I'm one of those, I think things are still falling in place. Then he carried that into the offseason, had a fantastic summer, was just kicking butt.
Well, and
so
after
not
the
worried
Hoop
about
Summit game, VJ Edgecombe, who's played with quite a few players, called him the best point guard he's ever played with.
Exactly. So give him some time.
He'll be fine. I'm not worried.
Couple months, ring the bell.
Yeah, exactly.
Couple more months, ring the bell. But right now, I'm okay. I'm fine.
He'll be fine. NBL.
Yeah, why not?
Who do you like? Who didn't you like? Concerns, takeaways.
Tui. Still like him.
Okay.
Still like him. Talk to me about Tui. There's some no ceilings talk that I'm very excited. I was like on the edge of my seat, ready to throw, pacing around the room with my fist flexed. I was like, what's going on? What's the Tui slander early? And it wasn't all slander. It was a lot of good stuff. Tui looks exactly how I wanted him to look after his second year. And I'm talking about the improvement in on-ball confidence, aggressiveness. I know he might be trying some erratic stuff. I want him trying that stuff. Last year, I feel like he was playing the very good, like, I'm young, I'm trying to fit in, I'm the complimentary piece. Now it looks like he's like, give me the ball. Let me go to work. Just a smart player. I think he's also just looked like the body's starting to develop. He looked bouncier. He just looks more aggressive, more physical, more willing to dish out the punishment. So I'm still buying. And the fact that I feel you're selling a little under the table is going to drive me insane.
I'm not selling. I have.
What are you hesitant about? Are you shot doctoring? I hate when you guys shot doctor because the shot still looks fine to me.
The upper body looks fine. The lower body's a disaster. Inconsistent.
But he's trying stuff.
Knee knocks. There were a couple where his right foot was behind his left foot. And I'm like, how do you even just get into a shot like that? That just.
What about his shin angles?
Fuck off. But I thought he was fine. I mean, I was hoping for more. I was hoping for a bigger jump. Especially the defense felt worse somehow, or at least just more inconsistent, which was really shocking because I loved his defense all last season. Again, this is one game, so I'm not writing him off or anything. I just came away wanting more. You talked about his aggressiveness. I didn't think he could create anything on ball. I thought his handle was rough. He couldn't finish at the rim. Again, early season, adapting to the pace and the speed and all of that kind of stuff. And if those, similar to what we said about Nolan, we'll see where all of that is at 2 months from now. I expect the defense to get much more consistent very quickly, because that's what he was fantastic at all last year. And even despite my kind of nitpicks with the weird shooting stuff in the lower body, the upper body looked really good. The release looked really good, and he shot fairly well. So I just kind of came away like,
Yeah, I think he looks strong. He looks stronger. I love what I've seen. I think it's just I think the defense will come. I think when you're pumped up about an offseason of probably working on your offensive game, trying to become more well-rounded, I think those early games you will spend some energy on that and then kind of let down a little bit on defense. And I'm not saying he's a bad defender, but I think all of a sudden those will level out. And I just it's a mentality shift for me. It shows me that you're willing to take on that challenge. You've been working to take that next step. And I'm fine with guys like that when you take some erratic looks early on, because I'm like, well, you didn't try this before.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not stuff that looks like he's not worked on that. It looks like, okay, I'm trying to put this in my game. And I've liked what I've seen. I'm fine early on with some shots. You're like, huh. But I'm also like, if I see that in 3 months, then yes, maybe we're a little like, okay, let's get rid of that. But I just like the aggressiveness and a little bit more versatility offensively than I thought last year. But I just still go back to seeing him a couple years ago at Hoop Summit. And I was like, this dude can play. He's a smart player.
For sure. But I like even just last year, some of the shot attempts he took in that first game, he wouldn't have even thought about shooting last year. So
I agree.
In terms of mentality and approach and all that kind of stuff, huge jump forward. And I if the shot keeps going in and the mechanics are a little funky, doesn't bother me as long as it's going in. But my hesitation is just how real is that? And 2, 3, 4 weeks from now, percentages are still good. Cool. I'll get over those concerns very quickly.
Agree.
Who else?
I mean, can I talk about my other boy, Ben Henschel?
Yeah, he looked really good.
I love him. What is preventing us from? I loved him last year, and then I thought last year I said he looks like a guy that just needs to have another offseason of kind of being in the weight room. Looks like that's on the right path.
Yeah.
Why can't he be a 25 guy? I love the way he plays. He's smart, shoot it. He's just a gamer. Yeah. Like, why can't we be buzzing about him a little more? Is it just too early to be screaming about the NBL season right now, even though you just did it about Alex Tui?
Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
I
bring up one minor concern and people lose their heads.
Oh yeah, of course. Do you like Henschel? You liked him last year. We were both intrigued.
Yeah. Shot looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Shocker. And the playmaking was really good. I thought some of the playmaking stuff was a little predetermined. I think his one game, he ended up with 7 assists, 1 turnover. That very easily could have been like 5 or 6 turnovers with balls that got deflected and all that kind of stuff. But again, one game, let's see what that predetermined stuff and kind of telegraphing looks like a month from now. So I think there's a ton of upside for him on offense. Not sure how he survives on the defensive end. But if the offense gets to a certain point, maybe it doesn't matter. But the fundamentals, the foot speed, the physicality on defense, it's a long way off. But he at least plays hard on that end. He competes. So
yeah, completely agree. Who else you got?
Zakarski, and he played 6 minutes. I don't know what to take away from it. I don't get the top 5, top 10 buzz that people were giving him. Love the vertical spacing, love the shot blocking and rim protection, but very kind of stiff mover. Parker Jackson Cartwright carved him up in the pick and roll. I need him to play. I need him to play more than 6 minutes in a game. I need him to double, if not triple, if not quadruple that for the rest of the season. So I'm just kind of in wait and see mode on him, but that was kind of a bummer.
Yeah, much lower on the Rocco. I have not bought real estate on that island, so I'm probably a little bit lower on that one. Probably for another time where I can go really deep on it. I get the intrigue. I get why some people are very excited about him. I have a lot of questions. Yeah.
I need a sample that you can actually work with.
He's still really young.
Yes.
So like, I'm not trying to hate on it. It's very, very young. The shot blocking is very exciting.
Yes.
It'll get you pumped. And I just think there's a lot of rawness and stuff that when I watched him this summer, we got a lot of work to do here.
Yeah.
And it's because of how young he is. Now, he's a very gifted. He's probably going to be an analytics darling. People are going to love that with the shot blocking and stuff. And he's a lob threat. I get it. But I think a lot of the in-between game is very far away. And you only get better if you get minutes and get reps. So I just need to see some more. I think he's going to be one we are going to need to be very patient with this year. Hot take is it would not shock me if he's even a 26 guy. I know people are going to go crazy for that, but it's a stacked class. Like there is very deep talent in this class. So like, I'm just saying his body needs to fill out. His game needs to mature a little bit. Could it happen throughout the year? Yes. we talk about Ousmane Dieng all the time. He had probably one of the worst first halves of a season possible for a prospect, and still ended up as a top 20 pick. So we got a long way to go, which is exciting.
Yeah. And thankfully for him and guys like Malik Lewis and Kareem Lopez, who just barely touched the ball, unfortunately. So just wait and see mode on them. Obviously, all these guys, but them especially because they just didn't get an opportunity to do much of anything, really. Izan Almansa, I thought
talk to me
really
about Almansa. Is that the same person? I watched one of his games today, and I said, my goodness, he is
in such better shape.
He's skinny.
Yeah, he looks good. He's mobile. He's moving. He's running the floor. We're seeing some of that kind of lighter footwork from him, like we did before he went to the Ignite. So the motor, the conditioning, it all looks really good. I thought there were some really promising flashes. On defense, he has one like really nice like post move out of the roll where he spun back middle, dropped in a floater with his left hand. It's just the defensive consistency, you expect it from a young guy in a new league with a new team. First game, nothing too crazy, but just, a step or two out of place here and there. But I was really, really encouraged to see how much better his conditioning looked.
It's scary. Like I immediately turned on, I was like, that's Almansa? Like it's just remarkable. If you watched him with the Ignite, and I hated him going to the Ignite because I was like, this is not gonna work. Like this is not gonna be a good fit for a big like him. I'm really excited to see what he can do this year. Because you know what it is, Metcalf? I don't think we're gonna get back to the Almansa like first round buzz, if you don't put it that way, that we had last year. But it could be the best thing for his career, because he could start showing like there's a path for me to be that really important rotation big, because he had a lot of game when he was playing with Spain. Like this is the guy we were like, my goodness, there's some talent here, but we'll see. But I was just shocked about his conditioning. Looked fantastic.
Yeah. And then just last name in the NBL, Lachlan Olbrich had an awesome NBL blitz last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then just consistent opportunity wasn't really there for him throughout the year. I thought he looked really solid. Love the physicality he plays with, really good rebounder, a lot of versatility out of the role with scoring touch, some passing flashes. The at-rim finishing was really solid, works his butt off on defense. I'm intrigued to see what the defense looks like all season, because they were running some weird kind of zone stuff where they put him in the corner. So he was, one of the three low man, and then he kind of kept getting dragged middle. So it's like, all right, how much of this is you not knowing what to do versus what your assignment is based on coaching. So a couple more games, try and figure that out. But the physicality alone on that end is really helpful for him. Would like to see him start shooting a little bit. But really physical, low undersized.
I'm a big fan.
There's some real upside feel stuff with him. So
I liked Lachlan last year. I feel like me and you talked about him behind the scenes. I was like, man, this kid could play. Like I like his game, and it happens. The minutes just weren't there last year, but I like his. There's a lot more stuff to work with. We were just talking about Zakarski, and it's like those are two different worlds when it comes to just like Lachlan's just ready to roll. There's always names where I'm checking in, and I'm just like, circle back. And he's going to be a name I feel like I keep circling back throughout the year, because I just like the skills. I just want to see if it keeps trending in the right direction. And there's some good stuff to work with. And that's why it's such a fun class, because there's a lot of guys like that were intriguing last year that are going back, and another year of development. Now let's see what they can do with more run.
Totally agree. Anything else? Anyone we missed?
No, I mean, there's a lot of international guys we could have brought up. We're probably going to dip into, but seasons are starting slowly. Ruzic, I think, just had a game, but he didn't really play a ton.
Yeah, I didn't get to him or Noah Penda yet.
Yeah, so there's a
Hugo
lot of
Gonzalez
games.
hasn't played yet for Real. I'm hoping that changes as the season goes on.
Sar too, right?
Sarr
Game
didn't play for
Sar, yeah.
Barca. Again, hopefully that changes, but those teams are
So
very stubborn. So
there's so many names this year. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, so we shall see. This is a blast. This is a long one, but best of both worlds with the NBA and some 25 draft talk. We will be back next week doing something.
Yeah.
Something. We'll figure that out later.
No, I mean it's fun. We're less than 40 days from college basketball. It's just insane. I thought it'd never end. So yeah, me and Metcalf can only hold off of going fully down the rabbit hole for the NBA draft. But I am excited to do more NBA stuff with you this year and at No Ceilings. A lot of fun stuff that is starting to lurk its way onto the No Ceilings website, NoCeilingsNBA.com. So we love everyone for joining us. I'm pumped, Metcalf. I'm gas tank's full, I'm ready to rock.
Yeah, and we have a ton of kind of individual player and positional preview stuff up at the site, NoCeilingsNBA.com. Currently, Maxwell's No Stone Unturned series has been awesome as usual. Rowan's had some really fun kind of tracking based on guys that he's been watching. Mavs draft, Rich Stamen just put up his kind of takeaways from the NBL first couple NBL games. Make sure to go check that out as well. I mentioned it at the beginning. We will be doing a rookie scale big board on young players in the NBA this year. That will be coming soon. Also, for No Ceilings Plus subscribers, our preseason draft guide will be available. More dates and details to come for that, but that will be available to No Ceilings Plus subscribers. I have a bunch of videos over at No Ceilings YouTube, film school breakdowns. I will be doing one on Ben Saraf soon, probably Noa Essengue as well. So make sure to keep an eye out for those. Shout out to everyone joining on Twitter, on YouTube, on Twitch. You guys are the best. Chat was fun as always. Super rational. Love your guys' patience with me. But if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and a 5-star rating. Until next time, see ya.